285 is almost over. What this means for your commute. And USPS has released an audit amid the ongoing postal problems and delays with the distribution center in Palmetto. How officials are getting ready for those absentee ballots for the November election. Hello and welcome to 11Alive Midday. I'm Aisha Howard. We are still tracking Tropical Storm Debbie as it makes its way up the coast. Meteorologist Chessie McNeil has a look at Debbie and how it's looking right now. Chessie, still holding together.
Yeah, barely a tropical storm. It's now over land, so we are anticipating it weakening as it continues to push further off to the north. It's over into central parts of South Carolina, into Columbia. Not a lot of heavy rain there. Most of that heavy rain is on the north side, now on the back side of the system, and also that onshore flow. That's mainly affecting North Carolina as we speak. But now packing winds up to about 40 miles per hour. 30 miles per hour starts a tropical storm. So if it drops below that, of course, it'll become a depression, which we're expecting that to take place. And also picking up a little forward speed, now moving to the north at about 10 miles per hour. It was moving in those single digits. So you had 5 mile per hour movement. And now it's starting to lift a little bit faster off to the north. You'll also notice how this rain shield is starting to bend back our way a little bit there. Here's the Georgia, South Carolina border there, and some of that rain getting a little bit closer. I don't think we'll see a whole lot of rain here, at least not today. A few isolated showers, certainly possible, but I do think a few more clouds will work in. Right now, we have the sunshine out there looking pretty good. Mostly sunny skies on the outside, and the temperatures will respond to that sun. We started out very muggy this morning. It's, I'll say warm out there right now. Temperatures well into the 80s, 87 degrees over toward Athens, 88 in Duluth, 87 in Atlanta, 85 degrees down toward Peachtree City, 87 degrees in LaGrange. Your cool spot would be Blairsville at 80, 81 up toward Clayton at the current hour. We're going to watch those temperatures rise into the 90s for this afternoon. I'm thinking right around 93 degrees for an afternoon high. It is humid, okay? So when you factor that in, it's going to feel closer to the mid to upper 90s out there this afternoon. So it is going to be another hot and humid day for us. We'll drop back down to 88 degrees by 7 o'clock tonight. Again, a 20% chance or less for an isolated shower. And I don't think that happens until after 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon. Only 1 or 2 of us will probably see that. For the most part, it is going to be on the dry side. Drier air will be working into our forecast area as the storm continues to lift to the north. Will it last all the way through the weekend? I'll let you know in the 7-day outlook in just a few. Aisha, back to you.
All right, Chessie, thank you. A new mental health crisis center just opened in Fulton County to immediately help those experiencing a mental health crisis. Ariana Manish joining us live from that ribbon cutting ceremony. Ariana, leaders say this facility will definitely save lives.
That's right, Aisha. This is a first of its kind facility to open here in Fulton County. Now it stands to address the needs of those experiencing a mental health crisis around the clock. Take a look at this video. 11Alive, we got a chance to tour the facility before today's ribbon cutting ceremony. The center, it houses 24 beds and has 16 observation care center rooms. It will provide behavioral health crisis services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for whoever is experiencing a mental health crisis. Over 100 employees, including nurses and security, have been hired to staff this facility. The center is located off of Metropolitan Parkway and will be the only facility in this area equipped to handle mental health needs ranging from drug overdoses to suicide prevention. It's the latest addition to Georgia's network of crisis services. Now, Fulton County Commissioner Chairman Rob Pitts, he was here speaking at the ribbon cutting ceremony, and he says that opening this facility is part of a long-term strategy to fill the gap and remove any barriers to access mental health care, especially emphasizing the fact that this is 1.5 miles away from Wellstar Medical Center, which closed back in 2013. He says that that really opened up a larger gap and really added a barrier for those who really needed facilities like this. Now, the facility just opened. We had the ribbon cutting ceremony that just wrapped up within the last 20 minutes. Now officials with state and local, as well as an advisor with the White House are here. They just got a chance to see the facility for themselves. Now, Chairman Pitts says this is the first of 3 facilities that the county is really looking to open. They tell us that this project was funded by a $15 million county investment from federal dollars made possible by the American Rescue Plan, which was passed by President Biden when he first got into the White House, as well as $9 million investment provided by the state. Reporting live from Fulton County, I'm Ariana Manish for 11Alive. Back to you.
A massive construction project is now in the final phase. For years, you've seen these crews out there working along Georgia 400 near Hammond Drive. 11Alive's Jerry Carnes has more on the $80 million project scheduled to end in November.
A tower of concrete, new ramps, new bridges, new lanes. After 7 years of constant change, drivers can now get used to a new design as they travel through the massive interchange of I-285 and Georgia 400.
Here we go, Mundo.
Ed Willis knows his way around Groovy's New York Deli. It's his drive to work that has brought so much uncertainty. He finds it hard to believe that it's ending.
Several times my coworkers and I have missed the exit due to a new exit opening or an exit closed. I'm sure that they'll change it up in another 5 years.
1.4 million drivers travel through the area each week, an 18% increase over the past decade, according to data collected by GDOT. Efforts to accommodate the growth began in 2017.
The main work has been completed. All lanes are in their final configuration. All ramps are in their final configuration. So if you have had a time over the past couple of years figuring out where your exit is, it's where it is now, and that's where it's going to stay.
You could still find flashing lights in your path if you travel in the dark. Crews have until November to complete the final touches.
Small lane closures that may happen, we try to do those overnight, but small lane closures that may happen in the corridor for barrier wall work, things like that.
It took 7 years to create and wrap this $80 million creation. All that's left is to tie the bow.
I'll be thankful, but I'll believe it when I see it.
A project with so many disruptions and changes over the past 7 years. Some are in disbelief. Jerry Carnes, 11Alive News.
It's still early in the planning stages, but GDOT is planning to add express toll lanes to the area. However, drivers won't expect to see that work begin anytime soon. This story is making headlines across Metro Atlanta. 2 businesses evicted in one day. The businesses are not connected. They are in 2 separate counties, different jurisdictions. This is video from an evicted beauty mart in the Terra Crossing Shopping Center on Upper Riverdale Road in Clayton County. Hundreds of people showed up Wednesday afternoon to try to take home merchandise. We're told the beauty supply store was evicted over owing $15,000 in back rent. Law enforcement had to tape off the area, blocking people from taking anything.
We like free stuff, so we came out here to get all this free stuff, but then the car saying you can't get the free stuff because the people want to take it. And how y'all gonna take some stuff that ain't even yours? It's free.
So I got my 2 baskets and took the bus or whatever to get down here to get some free stuff.
We're already in a recession. Times are hard. Why not just let us get the items and invest and be okay?
We are Black women. We care about our crown. Why not give back to the community and let us get the products? Let us get the tools. Any other eviction.
There was a similar scene outside the Red Martini restaurant and lounge in Buckhead. We saw people take furniture, refrigerators, and bottles of alcohol left outside. This caused such a frenzy that traffic was backed up on the streets around the club. We spoke to one security guard who told us this stemmed from a dispute over who owns the building. We are still working to confirm why the club was forced to leave the building this way. To read more about the evictions, head to 11alive.com and search the story there. You'll find it on our homepage. A problem area close to Georgia State University's campus could get a new gas station. This comes after a racetrack there was forced to close, citing safety concerns after a shooting. Leaders with the city, GSU, and police, they met with the new buyer Wednesday.
The owners understandably asked APD, we need you to actually enforce. Like, we understand if you need to cite us, arrest somebody on the property, but do that instead of giving chances. We need to hold strong boundaries, just like we told them we need you to tow cars that are loitering on your property to establish strong boundaries. So those were some of the small pieces that were talked about, what would be sold in the store, hours of operation, all of that.
GSU's police chief says crime has dropped since that gas station closed 6 months ago. They are looking for a business that's more compatible for the students who are underage. The new owner will have to go through several meetings for everyone to get on the same page there. The next one is coming up in a few weeks. Right now, the request for a liquor license has been filed. However, nothing is in front of council. More than 20 years after an Atlanta woman was seen alive, police have made an arrest in her murder. The last time 21-year-old Melissa Wolfenbarger spoke to her family was in 1998. It wasn't until 2003 that they learned her body had been in a morgue the whole time they were looking for her. With few leads, the case went cold until Wednesday when police announced the arrest of her husband, Christopher.
It's been a long wait, 25 years. But finally, hopefully, we will get justice for Melissa. She didn't deserve what she got.
Detectives were able to reinterrogate witnesses, follow up on additional leads, and they say new technology also came into play. Police have not said exactly what linked Wolfenberger to Melissa's murder. Right now, he is in custody at the Fulton County Jail. We recently featured Melissa's case as part of our series More Than a Number, where we honor the memory of those who died and we try to support their loved ones as they navigate their loss. Right now on 11alive.com, you can find a form to share your loved one's story, photos, and other details so we can create a tribute that celebrates their life. Just search More Than a Number. The YSL RICO case could start back up next week after nearly a month and a half of delays. Judge Paige Whitaker must still decide whether the case will move forward, and if so, whether the prosecutors can continue trying it. Plus, one of the state's star witnesses might not cooperate. Without Lil Woody's testimony, defense attorney Joshua Schiffer, who is not affiliated with this case, says things could become way more challenging.
The state really wants Woody's testimony because it corroborates and continues to build their theory of the case that YSL was a group acting in concert.
The judge is pushing for cooperation between the prosecution and defense to expedite the trial, which has been ongoing for 18 months. The state is restoring funding for an advanced placement African American studies class. Right now, Georgia's superintendent is backtracking after the state's attorney general weighed in. State Representative William Wade asked Attorney General Chris Carr to clarify if Georgia's divisive concepts law should keep the course from being state funded. The law does not allow teaching one race is superior to another or that the U.S. or Georgia is systemically racist. AG Carr says the state law does not impact AP courses.
The legislature, when they passed this bill in 2022, carved out APs and dual enrollment and a couple other programs as well. So we provided that information back to the legislature, and I'm glad that the decision's been made to follow the law and get things back on track.
Since the reversal, Gwinnett County Public Schools announced it is now offering the course. Several metro Atlanta school districts had already decided to put the course in some high schools. Well, mark your calendars. The 2025 to 2026 free application for federal student aid, also known as FAFSA, will be released October 1st. But that is only for some students. For others, it's going to roll out 2 months later. It is supposed to be available for everyone by December 1st. The Department of Education says it's doing this so it can test some changes that have been made to the form. Remember the glitch-filled rollout that came for the form that was due in last December? Delays were so long, a lot of these students still don't know how much aid they've been granted when deciding where to go to school. Meanwhile, a software glitch has led to Cobb County officials imposing a, quote, judicial emergency for the next 30 days. Officials tell us the software system helps keep information on cases in order for their next case of action. Cobb County switched to the new system happened back in June, but now a vendor informed the court it was not given adequate time to integrate its systems to accommodate the switch. As a result, judges, attorneys, and other county court staff, they cannot view important court documents filed before and after the system conversion. The emergency order grants relief and suspends deadlines. The order will run through the first week of September. Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, are now working to introduce Walz to a key voting demographic, the Midwest voters. The Democratic ticket even had a run-in with the GOP vice presidential nominee, J.D. Vance. This all went down on the tarmac in Wisconsin Wednesday. NBC's Drew Petrimo has more from Washington.
With the stage finally set, the candidates are beginning a 3-month sprint to Election Day. Dueling rallies in key battleground states. Vice President Harris and Republican VP nominee J.D. Vance trading barbs in Michigan.
We've got to throw Kamala Harris out of office, not give her a promotion.
Donald Trump intends to take our nation backward. Just look at his Project 2025 agenda. Project 2025.
And Wisconsin.
Donald Trump has openly vowed if reelected, he will be a dictator on day one.
What does Kamala Harris's selection of Tim Walz say about her? Well, I think it says, one, she's leaning into the defund the police radicalism of the last few years.
Former President Trump not on the campaign trail, but speaking to voters via the airwaves about Tim Walz.
You know, nobody knew how radical left she was, but he's a smarter version of her. if you want to know the truth.
Vance also taking aim at Governor Walz's 24 years of military service, claiming Walz abandoned his unit just before it deployed to Iraq.
When Tim Walz was asked by his country to go to Iraq, you know what he did? He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him.
At 17, I joined the Army National Guard. And for the next 24 years, it was a privilege to wear the uniform of this country.
The attacks likely to escalate as the candidates barnstorm the country, making their case to voters. Drew Petromo, NBC News, Washington.
Meanwhile, Georgia's state election board is asking Attorney General Chris Carr to investigate the Fulton County government. The board is specifically pushing to look into how the county handled votes during the 2020 election. In the county, former President Trump and 18 others are accused of violating the law with a criminal conspiracy to overturn his election loss. According to a resolution from the state election board, if AG Carr does not move forward, board members plan to hire an outside lawyer to do an inquiry. A previous inquiry closed back in May. This latest decision is likely to be met with legal action. With Election Day coming in less than 3 months, there are some big concerns for voters who will use the U.S. Postal Service to send in their absentee ballot. This stems from issues with significant mail delays in Georgia. 11Alive's Eliza Lucas has results from a new audit, shedding some new light on how the distribution center in Palmetto struggled with election mail earlier this year.
It's a deep dive into how ready the United States Postal Service is ahead of the 2024 general election. The audit by the Office of Inspector General looked at more than a dozen mail facilities across the country, including the new Regional Processing and Distribution Center in Georgia. Overall, investigators did say the Postal Service processed over 97% of ballots on time, but the audit also raised concerns that employees do not always follow required procedures. And at the Palmetto facility, investigators ultimately found, quote, a lack of preparation for election processes ahead of the March presidential primary. Investigators pointing out the lack of a staging area to isolate election and political mail, plus long lines of trucks. Remember this video from March? The report reveals trucks at that time were waiting around 20 hours.
Can't control the United States Postal Service, and they're a mess right now.
11Alive spoke with Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger a few days ago in anticipation of this audit being released. It is important to say the report also took place just 17 days after the Palmetto facility launched. The Postal Service noting that significant improvements have been made in Georgia since, adding that the May primary and those runoffs went more smoothly. Meanwhile, Secretary Raffensperger echoed this advice.
If you're going to vote absentee, to get your application in early, and then as soon as you get your ballot, then send it back as soon as you get it.
Liza Lucas, 11Alive News.
The Postal Service tells us that the agency is committed to the secure, timely delivery of election mail. They will expand processing procedures and add extra delivery and collection trips. We also know auditors will be making surprise trips to those facilities as they continue to watch the situation. We followed USPS mail delays since the start of the year. You can head to 11alive.com for all of our coverage. Just type postal problems in the search bar. Several passengers are filing a class action lawsuit against Delta Airlines following last month's global IT outage. The lawsuit alleges Delta refused to give some passengers automatic refunds for canceled flights. In other cases, the Atlanta-based airline only offered partial reimbursement if passengers signed a waiver releasing the airline of legal claims. The outage caused by CrowdStrike software forced Delta to cancel about 5,000 flights. Boar's Head is facing a potential class action lawsuit. This follows a deadly listeria outbreak linked to its deli meats. The lawsuit was filed in a New York district court. The plaintiff alleges that the company misled its consumers by not properly warning them of that contamination. That recall involved 200,000 pounds of its ready-to-eat and deli meat products. The recall was expanded days later to include 7 million pounds of its products. As of last week, 34 illnesses have been reported in 13 states, including 2 deaths. Families across Georgia are fighting to get their kids back after being accused of abuse, a nightmare that could happen to any parent. 11Alive News investigator Rebecca Lindstrom has been following these heartbreaking stories, exposing the hurdles these families face as they try to clear their names and bring their kids home.
And the last thing I can actually remember is looking up at the staircase. My sister was there with my babies. At that point, I just lost touch with reality because I didn't know, I couldn't function.
And you can watch the full Help That Harm series on the 11Alive Plus app, available for download on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. Once you open the app, click the News tab and scroll down for the Help That Harm series. Chesley.
All right, thanks a lot, Aisha. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, almost afternoon. We're getting there. What also is getting there is Tropical Storm Debbie. Still a tropical storm, barely a tropical storm. It winds up to 40 miles per hour. Started out this morning at 50 mile per hour winds as it made a second landfall over into South Carolina. Now it's almost at the border of South and North Carolina. Continue to slide further off to the northwest at about 10 miles per hour. So picking up some forward speed as it moves northward, and it will continue to do that. Here's the latest track from the Hurricane Center. You can see likely to be a tropical depression by later this afternoon. Will continue to slide up to the north rapidly as it moves, and by Friday up into New York State, up toward Maine. By the time we get to Saturday, and eventually up to Canada and then out of the way as it weakens. Still be some gusty winds up in the northeast, also some heavy rainfall as well. You can see some of that rain trying to make its way back toward our area as it's moving northwest up. Okay, but bending back to the west. So you see the clouds starting to move into our state. I think the rain will stay mainly over toward the west, to the east of us. We'll have a few isolated showers popping up later on this afternoon with the daytime heating. So after about 2 or 3 o'clock, we'll start to see that. Temperatures in the 80s. You know, we started out in the 80s this morning in Atlanta. It was like 81 degrees at 6 o'clock in the morning. Can you believe that? Now we're at 87 degrees, 88 in Covington, 87 over toward Athens, 85 in Gainesville, 82 right now in Blairsville, 81 the cool spot up there in Clayton. All those temperatures heating up into the 90s for this afternoon. It's going to be a hot one out there. Got up to 96 yesterday. I think we'll get close. 93 degrees for the afternoon high. You factor in the humidity, of course. It's going to feel like the upper 90s out there. Very, very hot, folks, and humid as well. Not a whole lot going on upstream, as you can see. Things calming down. Drier air will work in behind this particular system as it continues to push further off to the north. And so we're going to have some nice days ahead, nice looking days. Of course, it's going to remain hot. Our average this time of year is around 90 degrees, and that's where we'll stay over the weekend and into next week. Notice this stationary boundary back off to the west of us. Not a fast mover, but we'll move through the area as we head through the weekend. In fact, eventually stalling down to the south where they'll get in on some of the showers. We'll get the drier air working in behind Tropical Storm Debbie, and you can see all that tropical moisture making its way over toward us for today, but we'll begin to pull further off to the north as the system gets away from us. Drier air will begin to work in, and it looks like it's going to be around at least through the weekend. Now, temperatures won't drop behind that front, but we'll have lower humidity, so it's going to feel nicer on the outside. Our rain chance today is only 20%. A few of us may get an isolated shower or two, and then for the rest of the week and into the weekend, dry weather coming our way. Speaking of dry weather, latest drought monitor shows abnormally dry, so we're getting better. Last week, you may recall, this time we had some moderate drought still left in the area, and that has gone, and now we just have abnormally dry spots around. You have one little, in the state at least, up to the north is where we have that moderate drought over toward Dade, Walker County, but other than that, we're sitting good. In fact, we've had a very wet July, and it helped us out. Look at the surplus for this year, over 11 inches in the rain bucket. So that's good. Hopefully that'll sustain us over the next couple of days, because we will be dry. You're looking at our forecast track model. It shows the clouds rotating in. A few isolated showers certainly possible this afternoon. We'll hold on to that thread at least through about 7 or 8 o'clock before it dissipates. Clouds will move out tonight. We will get the sunshine in here for tomorrow and hold on to it right on through the day. On Friday, Saturday, Sunday look about the same, and those temperatures will remain about the same as well. 94 degrees will be your high temperature on Friday. Saturday, 92 will be the same on Sunday. Monday, a little spillover from the weekend. We'll have mostly sunny skies as kids going back to school and you're going back to work. 93 degrees will be the high temperature. And then our chance for rain will go up slightly as we head toward the middle of the work week next week. 20% chance Tuesday and Wednesday, with temperatures remaining in those low 90s. Aisha, over to you.
Jesse, thank you. A new affordable housing workforce community is finally complete in Decatur. The Oak Cottage Court community is located on Commerce Drive. There are 2 and 3 bedroom home options for middle-income individuals and families. The price ranges from $210,000 to $305,000. Officials say the goal is to ensure there's housing available for all levels of income. City, school, and housing authority employees are the top priority for the new development. However, homes are being made available to all income qualified buyers, specifically those working or renting in the city. The Woodruff Arts Center is launching a new campaign. Experience Atlanta, Experience Woodruff is a new effort to help fund some needed upgrades for its nearly 60-year-old facility. Here is a look at the new facility renderings. The $67 million capital campaign will go towards building improvements as well as creating new spaces and programming for young people and families. According to our partners at the Atlanta Business Chronicle, demolition will start next week on August 12th and is expected to wrap up by 2026. Well, hey, it might be time to get your own Costco membership. No more sharing. The retailer is cracking down to prevent you from using someone else's card. Costco says it plans to use devices to scan your cards at store entrances. Right now, a person actually does it. You will have to show your ID if your membership card does not have a photo. All right, let's check in on the Olympics in Paris. Cheryl Preheim and Faith Jesse are there right now covering the Summer Games. Here's an update on how our Georgia athletes are doing.
Hello from Paris, Cheryl Preheim here, where we are in awe of all of Team USA and all of the athletes with connections to Georgia, the way they handle these endurance sports, which is the Olympics as a whole. 2.5 weeks, they're going full steam, and they're making everybody at home proud. We found another endurance sport, though, here in Paris, one that draws hundreds of thousands of people from all over the world every year.
It is the most famous windmill on the planet.
Moulin Rouge, it means red windmill. The red is our color, of course.
Moulin Rouge, where Fanny Rabase has worked for more than 30 years.
So much history, because I don't know if you know, but the Moulin Rouge was created in 1889, the same year than the Eiffel Tower.
There are 60 performers in this world-famous cabaret. Dancers here are endurance athletes, training like the Olympians.
We are just breaking down. We will push it to the max.
They dance 6 hours a day, 6 days a week.
We do the can 12 times a week. That's year round. And it's an incredibly physical job. We get a lot of injuries. We have to get up and put some ice on it, take a couple ibuprofen and get back on stage.
Working the stage in heavy handmade costumes.
In the current show, we have 1,000 costumes.
It has stood the test of time. Every night, it is a sellout crowd.
850 seats, 2 shows a day, we never close, and we welcome every year 600,000 people.
Now even busier with Olympic tourists. Proudly showing the world the sport of dance.
Well, the Olympics is going to be more incredible.
And you know, it's fun. So many of the athletes say that this time at this Olympics, they've had more chances than ever to go out and explore the city. A lot of Olympians have taken in that show already.
From the City of Love to the City of Angels, planning for the Los Angeles Olympic Games in 2028 is well underway. Organizers are paying close attention to what's worked and what hasn't worked in Paris. Chief Athlete Officer says some of the athletes' concerns in Paris, such as comfortable beds, limited air conditioning, and food shortages, will not be an issue in LA.
We want our games to be a modern games, youthful, full of the optimism that Southern California brings to the world and the globe. And it's going to be unique. It's going to be a California Olympics. It's going to be different than this. It has to be different than this. But we already have our stadiums built. It's a no-build games. And so I think that we're going to do a great job.
LA Olympics officials also note that they plan to house the athletes at the University of California LA campus. As for concerns specific to LA, top of mind for a lot of people, you already know the gridlock traffic on freeways and streets. The official handoff to LA will take place Sunday evening during the closing ceremony in Paris. We want to point out some programming changes. The Olympics are preempting 11Alive News weekdays and weekends. And while the games are on TV, you can join us here for the latest big local stories in your weather 24/7. Through our streaming app, 11Alive Plus. So during the week, we're going to be on each morning, normal time, 4:30 to 7 a.m. And then streaming here at 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. Then we are right back on air for you at 6. And again for 11Alive News at 11 following.